Today's movie is about shape and font and learning how to put font into our picture. So let's go ahead and open a new document. We're going to call this shape and font. And I'm going to keep the default size the same. And now with fonts, we're going to add font to a picture. There's so many fonts to use. We're going to use the font tool right here, the T. The color here is the color of the font. Sometimes you're typing and you think nothing's happening, and a lot of times your font might be white and your paper is white. So I'm going to check that my color, I'll change the color. And then I'm going to go ahead and write something. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so we can see. So I'll write my name. And now a really easy way to change the font specific to what you've typed is if you highlight what you've typed and then you highlight the name of your font. Now if you use the up and down arrows on your keyboard, you can really easily change the font, and it's specific to what you've already typed. And so you can go ahead and change, I like that font, what it is. Now, if I want to go ahead and change the size of it, I could go ahead and edit, transform, and scale. So say I want to just change the size of it. So I'm going to drag it over and press return to set the size. To skew our font, we're going to go ahead and press this button right here. Now, skewing the font has to be done before you rasterize your font. We'll talk about that in a second. Right now, this is called a vector image, and we're going to go ahead and skew so we can arc our font. Press OK. So all of this is done, and it changes our font. You could even go in and type or change in that as well. So that's how to skew your font, and so that it looks a little bit different. And once you're finished with how you like to skew in the font, then you're going to rasterize so that we can edit it further with different tools. And so in order to use other tools, we're going to go ahead and rasterize. So our type, we can rasterize the type layer. And over here in the layers channel, the T, so you see the T was there, and then it changed it to an image that we can now edit. And so before we edit these with other things, I'm also going to show you a shape, which also needs to be rasterized. So this is another thing. If we go to below the font is our shape. And if we go ahead, we can go to a custom shape tool. And in this shape option, select different shapes that we like. So I'm going to go ahead and select the heart. And with a click and a drag, I can select my heart. And now to edit this further, I also have to rasterize it. And so I'm going to go ahead into layer and rasterize my shape. I can also rasterize the layer. And again, what happens is now I have a layer that is able to be edited. Now we're going to play around with our shapes and font. So we want to make sure, so say I'm trying to select or move my letters, and I'm moving, that moved my letters. If I wanted to move my shape, so it'll go ahead and whatever I'm on, you're able to move what you've selected. So I'm on there, and it goes to the different layers. Sometimes if you're not moving or selecting something, you have to just check what layer that you're on. And so we're going to go ahead and edit our words. So I'm going to use the magic wand. Remember, the magic wand selects a solid color. So right now I've selected the M. There's a couple things I could select the whole name with. I can hold the shift key and select all of the color. This might take a long time. Another way you can do this is I can go ahead and go into select, And similar is going to select a similar color. So when I select similar, it's going to select all of the letters in that particular layer that is the same color. And now that it's selected, I could go ahead and add different things to it. So I can add a gradient. So I could go into the gradient tool and select a gradient, and it will fill in the particular selection. I can invert the selection with Shift Command I, and that would then select everything in the background. So even though I'm on the same layer, I can go ahead and add that. And so say we did this and I didn't see my heart any longer because I filled it in solid. One thing that you can do is just reorder your layers and so that the heart is on top now. And so we've used the layers to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and delete my background layer so I can do one more thing in the end. And I have my shape. Let's go ahead and magic wand select our shape and add a gradient to that. So I've selected my shape, and I can go ahead and input a gradient for that. And so I have my name with a gradient on one layer and my shape with the other. And I can go ahead and apply what's called a layer style. So this affects the whole layer. The reason why I got rid of my original gradient is because I just want it to activate the letters and not just the border. And so you'll see what I mean in my name. I can go ahead and select now my layer style. So in layer styles, if you go into bevel and emboss, this will make your letters look three-dimensional. I'll move it over so we can see. So I can increase the depth of my letters, the size. I can make it chiseled, and I can soften it. So you can change all of these. Now, in addition, if I want to add an additional layer style, I can, for example, a drop shadow. I can select it here and add the drop shadow. And change so it looks like a shadow and press OK once I'm happy with what I've selected. And so I've edited that. I can do the same thing with my shape layer. So I can select my shape and go into layer and styles. And I can do outer glow. And I don't see it right now because it's not a color, so I can change the color. And that didn't really change anything. And so there's other things that you can add depending on the background. So let us try bevel and emboss for this, and there you can see where that changed a little bit. So we've added layer styles to both the word and the shape, and that's a little bit about font and shape and how to edit them. Enjoy!